Welcome, Briana, to Women Investor Wednesday. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you, Beth. I'm delighted to be a guest. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So back during COVID, I had learned a terrible stat that of all of the commercial real estate investors in the domestic US, only 3% were women. And of that, 50% were inherited or women who signed on their husband's guarantees. And I thought that was awful. And I started interviewing my friends thinking, this just can't be true, this stat. And I started interviewing my friends like, do you invest? Yes. Well, where do you invest? The stock market. Wait a minute. You work in commercial real estate. Why are you not investing in commercial real estate? This is like legal insider trading. And they're like, well, I don't have $1 million. I said, you don't need $1 million.
That's right.
And I kept asking and asking and asking. And then they said, well, I don't know any other women doing it but you. And I said, well, that makes sense because there's only, 3% of us. So then I said, I can solve that problem. So I had a virtual summit during COVID. And then since then, we've had 4 live summits where we have about 250 women. They come and they meet wonderful women like you who are already investors. I interview them. They go into breakouts and they teach underwriting, how they found the deal, mindset, which I know we're going to talk about today. And what I'm finding now that women are investing with each other in the room, which I'm so excited about. But because I capped the room at 250, because of the intimacy it allows for the investing with each other, I said, I need to reach more women. And I came up with Women Investor Wednesday podcast. And here we are. And I think you are our 95th interview.
Wow. Almost to 100. Excellent. I love it.
Almost there. So, Briana, you're in Scottsdale. Tell the ladies about how you got started in investing in real estate. And were you 20 or?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, first of all, I want to say God bless the trailblazers. So thanks for being a trailblazer. You're absolutely right. It's so much easier to follow on a path that somebody else blazes. So we needed somebody to start it. So thank you for being that woman. And now for continuing with this effort to reach a bigger audience. I think it's wonderful. Yes, I did not start in my 20s. I started in my 40s. And ladies,
never too late. Never too late, right?
It's never too late. And that is my message today. When you're ready, ladies, step into your own. When you get to that phase of life where your kids are a little bit more independent, you have a little bit more bandwidth to maybe do something that is more for you and is going to change your financial future. Do it. It's time to step into that opportunity. And I think we all can step in ways that are comfortable to us. It doesn't need to be a leap. It just needs to be a step in the right direction. So for me, I was always a natural hostess. I have an open door policy. Everybody's welcome at my home. I know how to introduce them to one another, how to show them a good time, be sure everyone's comfortable, et cetera, et cetera. So when it came time to investing, my husband has a W-2 income that we needed to offset, and depreciation is an awesome way to do that. So we started with single family homes. And I have an Airbnb business here in Scottsdale that I love. It was a natural, very congruent fit for me. I love hosting people from out of town. I love chatting with people who are traveling internationally or nationally. And I want them to see all that Arizona has to offer. So that was a very easy and natural step for me, but it still took a leap, right? It's another mortgage. It's working through vacancies and competition. It's working through seasons because nobody wants to be here in Arizona in the summer, including myself. But anyway, it's manageable. It's just about taking that first step and then troubleshooting whatever comes up and taking another step. And eventually, that allows us to pave even greater paths and get into things like commercial real estate, for instance. My next step actually is residential assisted living, but after that, it's going to be multifamily. And I think that we earn an income and we start living and surviving within that. And then if we can start to push ourselves a little bit to take a little bit of risk, educated risk, then all of a sudden we have extra cash flow to get a little bit riskier and a little bit more creative. And then those huge commercial purchases don't feel so daunting or out of reach. And we also, of course, can lean on a team. Sorry, go right ahead.
No, yeah. So your husband had the W-2. Whose idea was it so was the first purchase more single family, or was it the the
It was single
Airbnb?
family. It was
Okay.
single family used for Airbnb. So I am a counselor. I work with adults. So my specialties are grief, trauma, and couples therapy, and I love that. I'm super passionate about helping people become the best versions of themselves. And I wanted to go out on my own. I was working with a group, and I wanted to go out on my own. And I thought, well, I still want to have all the freedom and flexibility to work on the days that I want to work and not work on the days that I don't. And I don't want to pay overhead when I'm not there. So I utilize one of my Airbnbs for my therapy. I have a hybrid practice where I offer virtual sessions, but I also see people in person at my Airbnb in the living room. And they know it. They know the address. And, they actually love the privacy of that. They just pull up to this quiet little neighborhood street. They don't have to go into a big office that says therapy or counseling on it. They don't have to sit in a waiting room with other people. All those awkward things that are hindrances to actually attending an appointment. So
that's awesome. And so did you do an SBA loan? Because I know that when you buy a piece of real estate with an SBA loan, you can get I think 90% financing. Did you utilize anything like that?
I didn't. We're going to go the Fannie Mae Freddie Mac route. Did I say that right? Yeah. Where you can do 10 and 10 in your own names individually. So we're going to continue to grow our portfolio that way. We're not going to grow the Airbnb business in Scottsdale because this area is very saturated at this point. So that has worked for us so far, but my next step is going to be out of state. And I want to encourage your audience too, listening to that. It's okay to take one step somewhere and try it out, right? Give it a shot. You can tweak it. If it works, grow it. If it doesn't, pivot. There's nothing wrong with getting it close to right or needing to make an adjustment.
Yeah, I always encourage when women and men say, how do I get started? I always say, find someone that you trust, invest in the jockey, and do an LP. And there's, I know LPs, the average starting LP position, limited partner position is, anywhere from 25 to 50,000. Obviously, some are greater, but I just heard of one recently that they could take unaccredited investors and the investments were as low as 5,000. So I just think it's important to spread the word that you're looking to invest so that you can hear about these opportunities. Because if you just keep quiet and you think in your head, oh, I would like to invest one day, but you don't tell anyone. And it's hard to go be a GP on your own and raise capital on your own. That's a million% harder.
Exactly. And it feels like another job. And most of us are already doing a job, right? So yes, that's overwhelming. And I think being an LP on a deal is a great way to essentially pay for your education. You get a seat at the table, you dissect every email, you've got the GPs to text or call or ask questions to build up that confidence to take the next step and GP a deal. Yeah.
Exactly. So you were mentioning before we jumped on that you had been looking at multifamily. Can you share what's going on with that journey? Because I think it's really important for the audience to hear.
Yes. So I'm super excited about multifamily. I was a renter for years and years. My husband and I have lived all over the country and we're responsible renters and tenants. And so I have no fear of being a landlord. And that was my next step. But I was hoping that there would be some really good deals coming down the pipeline because of all that bridge debt that was coming due and people would maybe need to unload properties. Well, they're not ready to unload them at the price I'm willing to pay. So unfortunately, the numbers aren't quite penciling yet. It's a tricky balance, right? How long do you sit on the sideline and when do you finally get yourself in the game? And I just want to be sure that I'm really conscientious about being careful with my hard-earned money and also with those of my investors, right? I won't be able to do a multifamily deal by myself. It'll likely be a syndication. In my perfect world, it'd be a JV deal. But anyway, so those numbers weren't quite penciling. So I still have my eye, it's still in my peripheral vision and I'm still getting deals from brokers, but I'm being judicious about that. So in the meantime, I decided to pivot. Where is the path of progress then, right? And I see the path of progress being these baby boomers are going to need places to be taken care of. This is totally in alignment with my values. My husband and I joke about opening up a McDonald's or a Chick-fil-A or something, the franchise, but that's not in alignment with our values. That's not how we eat. That's not the healthy kind of behavior we believe in. So we do want our financial endeavors to also be in alignment with our values. And I really feel compelled to do residential assisted living. And that's because people are entering their second most vulnerable stage of life, right? Their first most vulnerable stage of life is infancy, when you're wholly dependent on someone to feed, clothe, and shelter you. And at the end of life, it's the same thing. They're so vulnerable. And I think they really deserve to live those years with integrity and with dignity. And these residential assisted, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this model. I think you've had a couple of people on your podcast before talking about it, but it's where roughly 10 residents live in a single family home. So it's the same 10 residents at the breakfast table in the morning. It's the same 10 residents watching Jeopardy in the evening. And the idea is that there can be a much better caretaker to resident ratio than there are in those big box spaces, and that there can be community, right? It's a very lonely time. Usually the person has lost their spouse and their children love them to death, but cannot, ditch work or all their kids' activities. They cannot be home with them and be a companion to them and a caretaker for them in the way that is most honorable to the person, the elderly person. So my next move is to do residential assisted living. I think the big box assisted living houses have their place and are necessary as well. But I also think that the smaller, more personal touch residential assisted living model is beautiful. And there are pockets of the country. It's very well known here in Arizona. As they say, the old get cold. Yes, there's a lot of people that retire here. But these communities are needed in all parts of our country and near to daughters and sons, so that they can visit their moms and dads. So that is my next move.
Yeah, I think 2 years ago at the conference, Therese Southwell spoke, and she's also done a Women Investor Wednesday podcast, and she has done a 2 or 3 of these, and I've never heard of it until I interviewed her. And what she's doing is amazing. And I absolutely, if I had an older parent, I would want them to be in these homes. There wasn't a dry eye in the house when I interviewed her, and she's doing is amazing. So I think that there is a huge market for this, because I think the baby boomers like me, I'll be 65 in a couple months. There are many of us in our 60s who have 80-year-old parents who need a place to have companionship. Like you said, we're out working or, doing whatever, and we can't be holding their hand all day. And we want to put them in a place where we're comfortable, where it's more of a family environment than those box places. So
where you can sleep well at night.
Yeah, I encourage. Yeah, she has pictures of them watching, movies at night, or playing checkers or cards. It's lovely.
Yes, a higher level of engagement than they would get otherwise.
Yeah, so I hope I look forward to hearing. Now, will you raise money to do those, or will you and your husband do those? And how many? Do you have any idea of how many you want to do?
Yeah, so my husband has no interest in real estate, God bless him, which is fine. So I stay in my lane and he stays in his. But he's super supportive of what I do. And he humors me by listening to, my latest ideas. But I have found a partner. So that's one thing I would tell your audience. Get yourself in the room with like-minded people. And sometimes you have to pay to get in the room, right? There are different communities you can join. I highly encourage you to do that, because that we all know the expression about crabs in a bucket. If you put one crab in a bucket, you have to put the lid on, or the crab will find its way out. But if you put 2 crabs in the bucket, no need to put the lid on, because they'll hold each other down, right? And our family members hold us down and keep us playing small and keep us playing safe. They don't mean to keep us from fulfilling our dreams. They're just nervous, right? And so they lack enthusiasm. Like, ooh, you want to do residential assisted living? Well, what if you go bankrupt? Do you have enough money for that? Or you're going to take care of elderly people? What if they die? Like, okay, so put yourself in the room with like-minded people who are not afraid and are going to plow forward. And then I would also say, find a partner, because life is better together, right? Everything's more enjoyable. It's awesome to backpack around Europe alone, but it's even better to go with someone, right? And enjoy the sights and the sounds and the food. So long answer, longer. I found a partner actually through multifamily. So she and I were both interested in multifamily. We're in the same multifamily group. We are seeing the same multifamily issues, not penciling. And so she and I have done a series of interview questions, actually, to be sure that we're a good fit for one another. And we are going to partner together, and we're working out different opportunities. So if we buy an existing, We might get a business loan, small business loan to buy it. We also might separately have one of us purchase the real estate and then together purchase the business. That might be how we parse it out. Where our goal is to have 3 in a given community so that we can share staff, share resources, build reputation, and then go to the next community and build 3 more. But it'll be one at a time. Ideally, I'd love to build from the ground up, but the faster way in is to modify an existing.
Right. See, yeah. And Therese had a lot of problems with the neighbors, believe it or not. They put up signs.
Oh no. Yes.
Terrible.
You know,
we don't want an old folks home in our neighborhood. Terrible.
You know, God bless people. People are so fearful, right? If you actually went and sat down and talked with each of the neighbors, they would get it. It's just that gut reaction. So they instantly think, I guess there's going to be a ton of cars. Well, guess what? None of the residents drive. So It's only going to be the 2 cars of the 2 attendants there. And then, of course, there'll be the grocery delivery guy once a week. There might be the occasional visitor. Maybe there'll be a little bit more guests on weekends. But again, we're talking about roughly 10 residents. They're the quietest residents ever. They don't come and go very often. There'll be the doctor appointment here and there. Yes, I've heard that people have gotten upset in the past and then they're pleasantly surprised. I actually have an RAL behind me in my physical home in Scottsdale, and we have a pool. They of course don't have a pool. We never hear them out there. They don't really utilize all the amenities of the home the way a loud family of kids and teens would. So rest assured, there's nothing to be worried about if it's done right and well, and I hope that they are.
So we met through a friend, Christy, and you, as you just shared, meeting up with like-minded people is great. So share how you met Christy, because I always speak to the audience and the followers about how important it is for masterminds and groups. So can you talk to that?
Absolutely. So I joined the Better Life Tribe, which is one of Brandon Turner's communities, a couple of years ago. And Christy joined as well. And then we were placed in pods of 6, and Christy and I were placed in the same pod. And it's a group of men and women. And then our pod was only women. And none of us said it, nobody wanted to say like, I can't believe it's only women. And then 6 months in, somebody was like, I just want to come clean and tell you that I was so mad. And then we, of course, were all delighted. Being around like-minded women is so empowering. It's so encouraging. So I highly recommend it. And the Better Life Tribe at the time was a very affordable option. So don't feel, audience, that you have to join the $20,000 ticket group first. Shop around and find a group that seems like it has similar values and similar people. Also, if it is laser focused as you can get, the better. And if you don't know what you want, Better Life Tribe is a great option because they kind of cater to all things. But if you don't know if you're going to do storage units, or you're going to do sober living, or if you're going to do commercial real estate, you can find a catch-all. But if you do specifically know what you want, find that group. And the reason groups is so important is because what scares you, Beth, doesn't scare me, and vice versa, right? You have trauma, bring it to me, girl. Come right in. I can handle that all day long. You have relationship issues. Your stepdad was mean to you. That doesn't scare me at all. I'm like, yes, come right here. I can help you heal that. I know exactly what to do. I feel so competent and confident in that realm, right? And then what your skill set is totally different than mine. So when I see a JCPenney go empty, I'm like, oh my gosh, that massive amount of space, and it's so much money. And you probably see nothing but opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So it's great to be in the room with other people, because what is an obstacle remains an obstacle instead of an entire roadblock. If we go alone, we tend to stop, or we go really slowly, and we get in our heads about fixing it, and we're chat GPTing and Googling how the heck to do, right? If just get in the room with have a partner, or more, 2 brains is better than 1, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
so absolutely in the our community.
Right. I've been in a lot of different masterminds, and they have run the gamut between, not a lot of money to a lot of money. Right. And what's so interesting is, before I started doing the masterminds, in shopping centers, ownership, there's very few women. I can think of 3 others in the country.
Wow.
now, but back then when I first started, there were none that I knew of. And I didn't have this platform. So I would just call my, experienced, richer guys in my market, South Florida, that had done it before and said, hey, I have this opportunity. And 7 times, Briana, 7 times, I was like looking for someone to, co-sign on my idea. 7 times I was dissuaded. Don't do that. I think you're being, I think your numbers are wrong, blah, blah, blah. And now I drive by all 7 of those opportunities that someone else went and did what my idea was, right? So I realized very quickly, I'm good at what I do. I'm a good picker, and I don't need to call anyone to co-sign on my idea. I need to embrace the idea, do the research, do the due diligence, and move forward, and then and not ask someone else. But that's just asking someone else who doesn't have a stake in the end game. When you're part of a mastermind and you're in these pod groups, everyone kind of has a stake with each other. We've committed to each other to help each other out.
That's right.
So it is absolutely, the relationships are contingent on, I want you to do better, and this is how I'm going to help you get better. And a lot of times in masterminds, they're ahead of you.
That's right.
Like, I don't want to be in the room where I'm the smartest. I want to be in the room where those people own 100 shopping centers, not 4 shopping centers. I want to be, and those are out there and available. So yeah, I'm a big believer in joining groups. And I've been in groups where they do all the asset classes, and I've been in groups where it's niched. And for me, having exposure to multiple asset classes is interesting because you do learn, oh, that's it. You do that in multifamily. Oh, how could I do that? Like we had a woman last year at our conference, Marcy Surface, who does student housing, and the hospitality stuff she does with student housing blew me away. And I was like, how can I do that in my retail?
Right.
So right. But so it's really what will help you. But definitely everyone should be looking at masterminds and looking to invest in themselves, not just invest in real estate, right?
That's right. Absolutely. Totally agree. And that's so funny that you had those naysayers, and then, you find people. That is what's cool about the masterminds is we are all desiring each other's success. Everyone is a cheerleader in there. There's no competition in there. It's camaraderie, and
they're all, And I don't think those guys I really thought that they just were worried for me. And they, like you said, like the family members.
Right. Yeah. They were scared on your behalf, and you really knew exactly what you were doing. So, sometimes we have to listen to our gut, and we don't, I think that's also kind of a feminine trait, is to wait and ask permission. Here's your permission, ladies. Go do it. Go do you. You were put on this planet for a reason, and you've got a purpose to fulfill. Go do it. Yeah.
Okay. So that's usually my last question is, so probably 60 to 70% of the people that watch this are on the sidelines. They have what I tease, I say the shekels. They have the shekels, they have the money, but they're waiting to put their foot in, and they're not sure whether it's fear, mindset. What would be your advice for the person who's believes they're ready, have the money, they just haven't done it yet?
I think I'd go back to find like-minded people, or find a partner. So the podcasts are great, YouTube is great, but we are in an information overload society. Quit teaching yourself and go do something. Right? It's about taking action. We're all so good at being those students. But so my advice to them is, you have enough information to begin. So begin. Stop listening and learning and start acting. And if you're too hesitant to do that alone, go pay some money to get in the room with like-minded people who will kind of nudge you along. If you have to speak your goals out loud, you're going to be way more inclined to reach them, right? Because it's embarrassing to meet up with your people again and be like, oh, I said I was going to run 26 miles. I was going to do that marathon, and I've only done 2, right? No. So if you speak it out loud, it will become true. I would also encourage people, go ahead and message people on LinkedIn, message me, message you. You'd be amazed at how many people are willing to answer a question or point you in the right direction or connect some dots for you. So go ahead and reach out to all the free resources as well and say, hey, this is what I think is holding me back. What do you know, if you need the green light from somebody, I get that. So go with somebody.
Yeah. And I said, I think 2 years at the conference, I said, you know, if you can be an LP for 25,000 and you can, like you said, that they become the master class, you watch that GP, right? And I said, look, if you can't, and we can all lose our money.
Sure.
Right. You can lose every last penny you invest.
Right.
But if you are not in the position that if you lose that 25 to make it again,
right,
then you shouldn't be investing. You should go into it saying, okay, it shouldn't be your last 25 for sure.
Right.
So if you have 100, invest 25, but have the confidence that God forbid you lose it, whatever you're doing in your day job, you can make that back.
That's right. That's right. And you might be pleasantly surprised that you make amazing returns instead.
Exactly. So, and this is how we grow our family's wealth.
That's right. This is generational change right here. This is thinking in a way that our moms didn't think, right? Our parents teach us so many explicit messages. They're very explicit about it. And then there's all these implicit messages we get from mom and dad and our families and our churches and our communities. And so we have that message, right? That we're gonna do what mom did, entrepreneurially or not, financially or not, right? And it's like, this is a different day and age. Go ahead and give yourself permission to do it differently. Step on in, get in the game,
and talk about money, which is what
talk about money.
Society tells us not to talk about money, not to brag. Don't brag. Don't talk about money. Screw that.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
Briana, it's been such a pleasure having you on the Women Investor Wednesday podcast. Thank you for being here. I thank Christy for introducing us. And I wish you lots of luck with your you called it an RAL, residential assisted living. Yes.
That's exactly right. Yes.
I think it's great. There's so many multifamily people out there and very few doing this, at least even in South Florida. Maybe it's big in Arizona. I don't think it's big down with us. So I wish you lots of luck and keep us posted on how you're doing, especially if you want to raise money.
Yes. Oh, I will. Absolutely. Thank you, Beth. I appreciate being on. It was a pleasure to be with you today.
Bye-bye.